Listen, I just want to be clear now that we're live, how much I purposefully made this thumbnail in a way that AJ would absolutely hate it. Have you seen this thumbnail, AJ?
I was gonna say, like, where am I? Like, why am I not on the thumbnail?
You should be on every MonJay's episode. It's with the mouth agape, headset on fire. Then it's something circled with a little red circle, big red arrow. Well, we're going to make it happen. One of these days, we're going to turn into that YouTube channel. But I know that you hate every time I cover logos with artwork, and I purposefully made that RoboQuest dude blocking the GamesCast Live logo just for your benefit. So I hope you enjoyed that, AJ.
I knew there was something I disliked about it, but it had Jamie on it. So I was like, you know what? It's all good. It's got Jamie on there. And by the way, Jamie, guess what?
It would have been great if Jamie showed up for this episode.
Yeah, that's all good, right? Yeah.
Now that's good clickbait right there. Right. Jamie, guess who's coming to town to Atlanta very, very soon?
Santa Claus?
Oh, the boys. PJ.
The boys.
Yeah, boy. You
go.
I forgot that you guys had bonded over Pearl Jam prior.
Yes, I've always he's always been. I've always liked Jamie by default because he loves Pearl Jam, and so do I.
So it's good. If anybody wants to get in AJ's good graces, all you got to do is like bands that were popular 30 years ago.
Washed up, classic dad rock. As long as you got a little that going, you'll be fine.
All right, Jamie, thank you for being here. We're going to start the show, so we stop talking behind this amazing thumbnail.
You're not going to thank me for being here too? I mean, I showed up too.
Listen, the only reason Jamie's here is because you bailed on me at noon. Okay.
This was my plan. This was my big plan. So you're welcome, everybody. Yeah, Jamie's here because of me.
It's a true story.
It's a trap.
It's the first free people Gamescast in a while, you told me.
Yeah, it is, which means something's going to break down. Like there's going to be 2 blue boxes when I start. All right, you guys ready? Let's do this. Let's go.
Yep.
This is PSVR Gamescast Live, where we film live every single Monday, Wednesday, and 2 Eyes Friday right here on YouTube. We do it live 6 p.m. Eastern for your viewing pleasure because we care about these. Have you ever flipped your eyelids up inside out? Like when you were a kid, like remember like on the school bus, like kids would do that. I'd be like, what are you
so gross
doing? Like I've never done it in my entire life. It's just, but like right now I'm like, I feel like I should. My name is Brian Pop from the show right here without Parole. And joining me as always every Monday, AJ from the Underground, PSVR Underground.
What is up, Brian? What is up, Jamie? What is up, Game Cats? Happy Monday. And I know that Mondays usually suck. Yes, it's true. But we are here. United, we stand to ensure your Monday sucks.
Oh. Wow.
Just a little less.
That's not where I thought that was going at all. Okay.
just a little less.
Jamie, you have to pretend like you're in on the inside jokes. Be like, I watch the show all the time.
Oh yeah, I love it. Right?
Yeah. We're all sick of this joke by now, and you're like, what? Where's this going?
It's great.
And on the far right hand side of the screen, formerly of let me get this right, of Fast Travel, of Upload, of Vive, and now of the VR Games Showcase. It's Jamie Feltham.
Well, currently, yes. Oh, I realized what you were saying there now. I totally misunderstood that.
Good. We can start the show over. This doesn't seem like it's going terribly well. Right. Awesome, man. What have you been up to since the last time you were here?
Yeah, so I was last here in August promoting the first version of the VR Game Showcase we did, which was a really, really good show. We just did that just ahead of Gamescom, and then a lot of people that were in the show were in kind of the business area of the Gamescom. And we had like a bunch of really cool devs there and everything like that. And then as soon as we got home from that, I got Conflu, and then I got to working on the next iteration of the show. Essentially, we did a little indie thing in like September, October last year. It was called XR Indies and Friends, which was cool. But now we're back with the proper VR game showcase, the big one on when is it? March 11th. So yeah.
Yeah, so just a week away, right? So next Tuesday, did I do my math right?
Yep, slightly scary. 8 days.
How's this all?
I'm just starting to get the nervous pangs today. We're actually like in terms of like, I mean, you've done these things, right? So you kind of know how it goes when you set deadlines and deadlines get pushed back and back and back and back, and unforeseen things happen and people need more time and everything like that. But we set it earlier than ever this year because we were like, we've got time on our side. We can tell you when to get it in. You've got like 2 or 3 months to work towards that goal. And it's kind of worked out right now. We've got almost everything in, but that doesn't stop it being from like absolutely terrifying, basically.
Yeah. Is the lineup at this point? Do you think the lineup is pretty rock solid? Do you think it's where it's going to be? And
yeah, for sure. I think I'm very happy with where it is this time around. I think it's a really fun show. I think you've seen what we've announced so far. Like we've got some big hitters in there, like Hitman. Amazing to have like those guys on board. Like they've been really supportive from the start. Obviously, we had Hitman for Quest 3 last year, and then they just turned right back around and said, yeah, we want to do the PSVR2 thing this time around with you, which is super cool. And I think we've got a lot of like the really good like AA VR studios out there right now. Trying to think of what's been announced and what hasn't. But like Fireproof, we've announced that, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Good.
Yeah. Very excited for Ghost Town. When you tweeted out that Ghost Town would be there, along with a list of everything else that would be there, or a bunch of other titles, that was the one that stood out when I quote tweeted your post. That's the one that I called out by name because I can't wait to see what those guys do next.
Yeah, for sure. I know, like it's been like there's so many things that are interesting about Ghost Town, right? Like it's their first new IP as a studio that's basically really only known for The Room. That I think they did a Jetpack VR game.
Hold on one second.
What have I done?
No, it's not you. I knew something would screw up, and as soon as I went to full screen to see this trailer, I didn't see anybody's audio levels. Yes, okay. In the chat, they're letting me know exactly. Yep. Hold on one second. I got it. This is I was testing all this. All right. Okay. Times. All right. So carry on. I'm so sorry.
It's cool.
So you said the first big IP since, or the first new IP since The Room, and I think that's where I cut you off on accident.
Yeah. And just to see them like back trying around, new VR mechanics and stuff like that, and like this time, like kind of stepping away from The Room and doing something new. Like I think that's like super, super cool, and it's kind of what we're always trying to do with the show is find some threads for kind of like some of the more flat screen crowd and everything like that to kind of like raise an eyebrow as well. And obviously The Room is so well known on iOS, on Steam, everything like that. It's been such a huge popular franchise for a long time, so it's kind of like a double win to get someone that's already made a great game in the VR space and will have like enthusiasts coming back to see what's next for them, but also can kind of like come in from the flat crowd and say, I'm kind of interested in what they're doing next in this new space. And I think that's really what the show's always been about for us is to try and find the projects that keep the core enthusiast fan base like super, super happy. That's definitely, what I want to make out of the show. But then also find those kind of links that draw in some of the kind of like flat screen stuff as well and generate some interest from VR from outside who already owns a headset, essentially.
Yeah, and Ghost and a lot of VR games, they are, it never does it justice seeing it like on the flat screen, right? Like you gotta, sometimes you don't get it until you actually put the headset on. But their Ghost Town game, like that's looking good. Like even just like, that is the type of game that people see, and it's not like low poly, there's a lot of detail, there's a lot of lighting, shadows, stuff like that. So that's a really, really great one. I really look forward to seeing more of that.
Yeah, super cool.
I'm nervous for them. I am. Like they did such a great job with The Room VR, but now they're implementing all sorts of new things like full locomotion and who knows what other kind of like VRAF interactions. And it's like, okay, well, the Room VR, as great as it was, kind of felt safe for a developer like that who's so used to doing mobile games. Now it's like, okay, well, do they have what it takes to make like a I don't want to call it a real VR game because we love the room so much, but like a real VR AF game.
Yeah.
I'm hopeful,
Well,
very hopeful.
But also just the fact they're sticking around in VR, right? Like I would have assumed they would have made the Room VR and then they would have been like, okay, it's time to go make the Room 5 or 6 on the normal platforms and bring that smartphone money back in. But clearly it's been really, really successful for them as a project, enough to, pique their interest for another 7 years.
I love that. That is a huge advantage of having like a well-known IP. You don't have to like really try to sell anybody. You just say, hey, remember this game you love? It's in VR. And people are like, oh, and if they're big fans of it, they're like, oh, I gotta try that. Like I wouldn't be surprised if people, maybe not like a massive number of people, but I could guarantee you that there were a group of people that went out and bought a headset just for the room. And then maybe discovered some other things or maybe moved on, whatever. But that's the power of that,
they all discovered
name
Beat Saber.
recognition. They all discovered Beat Saber.
Right. Beat Saber and Gorilla Tag, and they were never seen again.
But that's the idea of it as well, right? Like, is also the show is all about not just announcing new games and everything like that, but almost coming up with like a timeline of, okay, what does the next 3 to 4 months look like for VR? So that again, if you're just getting into a headset, you're buying it not just because you're looking forward to Ghost Town, but you've also seen like 3 or 4 other things in the show that are coming out in April or May or something like that. And kind of no one, I feel like, does a really, really great job on a platform end of like giving you an idea of what the timeline of the year looks like. Obviously, the thing with traditional gaming is by the end of the year, we're all talking about what's going to happen in 2025, what's going to happen in 2026, what's going to get delayed and everything like that. And Meta's not really out there. PlayStation's doing a bit here and there in terms of talking about what their lineups look like. They often just kind of leave it to the developers to try and like make sense of that. And so one of the other big points of the show is to kind of just say, oh, it's not just about this one game or that game. It's about having a timeline through the year and going, oh, I know it's time to pick up a VR headset because I'm not just going to have the back catalog. I'm not just going to have the one game that I'm really excited to buy it for. I know something's coming 2 weeks later, a month later, something like that.
Yeah, you want stuff to look forward to.
Yeah,
absolutely. That's a huge part of it.
Yeah.
Man, remember when the PlayStation blog used to tell us what games were coming out week after week? Like, this was a while. It made coming up with the content for PSVR this week much easier, right? Because they were just like, here's all the games coming out next week, and then I just go through and try to figure out which ones were VR and which ones weren't because they were terrible at telling us. And they just stopped doing that. It was like, why would you stop doing that, right? And that's on a week to week basis. Never mind, here's what 2025 is looking for like for us. And they've really forced, like, it just seems like content creators to be the ones to promote that kind of stuff.
I mean that's what a lot of guys out there do now, right? Like Mateo, Gamertag, everyone like that, and obviously you have your news thing that goes out usually in the weekend, right? As well, is just a wrap up of keeping tabs on what's going on because it's hard to do it otherwise. And I think even if you look at like the structure of what Sony does with State of Players and Nintendo does with Direct and everything like that, they have them seasonal, right? Like it's mainly focused on what you're going to play this spring, and then maybe a couple of teasers for later in the year, maybe a couple of teasers for 2026. But with VR becoming less and less a part of those shows, it's up to others to pick up the slack, really.
I need one confirmation from you before we discuss anything else, Jamie. I know you're not here to like tell us everything that's going to be in the show or all the details. Like otherwise, what would be the point of the show? But the last time we got a Hitman World of Assassination preview was on the last PSVR Spotlight. And Sony snuck it in there. They were like, it was like no new news other than the fact that it was delayed. And so you're not going to announce a delay for Hitman, are you?
They pretty recently said March 27th, like in their own thing, right?
Yeah.
So I think I'm safe to say we're looking good.
Okay, good. That's all I needed.
Don't get in trouble for saying that.
Was the announcement. I mean, that was the state of the. Was it a state of play or blog post? I don't remember. Maybe
whatever it was. It was the last time we saw Hitman, and everyone's like, yes, Hitman, and we saw like 10 seconds of new footage, and somehow all it took was 10 seconds of new footage for it just go over everyone's head to be like, all this was an announcement of a delay.
I can like I've seen the Hitman trailer, and it's really interesting. It is trying to take a good look into what makes this version a bit different, I think. And I think it's quite. I think it's something that you guys are really going to want to pick apart and analyze each and every little interaction that you see in there.
We would never do that.
I mean, that actually, Brian likes to gloss over it a little bit. I mean, it wasn't just the announcement of the delay. It was that they did give us a bunch more info.
It's way funnier when my perspective is way funnier than your perspective.
But no, that was one thing that they did was they went into greater detail about like what is significant about this version, and they talked about how they're going to really like they've redesigned so much stuff. They talked about the dual wielding, you know, a lot of the interactive elements. And man, let me tell you, if they execute this, guys, if they execute this, no pun intended, holy shit! Like this is gonna be like a top PSVR2 game easily if they nail this. And I was a big fan of the original version, the PSVR version. So I have hope. I know some of their other versions have had some issues, but like I always thought the PSVR version was amazing and never got really the credit it deserved. And how awesome would it be just for them to just nail this, and because it's a huge game and there's so much to do. And if they actually nailed the VR interactions, which is like obviously the big struggle that a lot of like people converting a flat screen game to VR encounter, oh man, that this is going to be a huge deal.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting as well because obviously it's their own engine, isn't it? The Hitman engine. Like it's not on like Unreal or Unity or anything like that. I think it's just, or even if it is, it's like, they've been building it out as a platform for so long now. And really what each Hitman game has been in the World of Assassination trilogy is kind of adding what that engine can do or what that tool set can do. It's, yes, an expansion with more levels and everything like that, but they get technically much more demanding and everything like that. And the great thing about seeing them persist with the VR support from PSVR to PC to working with XR games on Quest and now this is that they clearly just want to keep the VR support in that engine and that tool set up to date. And to me, like, again, like we're not announcing anything crazy like that in the show, just so everyone knows. But like, they're working on that James Bond game. Is it possible that like in the future they're just able to just kind of tick the box and put it in there? I would love to see something like that happen.
Dude, a James Bond VR game, please. And I could not think of a better studio. I mean,
again, not being announced at the showcase.
Not being announced. But Hitman is like, like that is the ultimate James. It's the best James Bond game I've played in so many years.
Yeah.
So them to do an official one with the licensing, super cool. But the engine is Glacier 2 engine, and it is a proprietary in-house engine. You are correct, sir.
And I think it's just going to pay off, like, as the industry grows. It like keeping on top of that and like perfecting and refining the support inside the engine is just going to pay off in dividends, I think.
Yeah, it's so reminiscent of what's happening at Hello Games, right? Like they're working on Light No Fire, and then all the stuff that they're learning and improving for their engine, they're bringing backwardsly over to No Man's Sky and into VR, which is great, man. This is why recently on Gamescast I was talking about how like it feels like kind of just the beginning for PSVR2. It feels like we are in the best place for PSVR2 with the price drop, and then of course all these game announcements coming out, and a really, really solid library from the last 2 years. Like it just feels like everybody's starting to get on board, and it feels like developers are hearing that games are selling well on PSVR2 and saying, well, if we're gonna make a VR game, this is someplace we should be considering.
Yeah.
Did you feel like the $400 price drop or the price drop down to $400 was enough?
Well, given it had already been on sale for $350, I would have loved for it to have hit $350. But I mean, they've still got to have the space to drop that extra $50 next Black Friday, or potentially that extra $100 or something like that. So I'm definitely excited to see it happen. I think what really fuels that excitement is like you've said in the past before, when a sale's been on, the interest in the channel explodes and like it goes up on Amazon and stuff like that, right? Like it just proves that high price point was such a sticking point for people right at the start. I would like to see it go further. But I think it's a really, really good start, and I think it can really kick some momentum for the platform that like will keep building on what you're already talking about at the end of the day, right? Like people are going to keep seeing those games. Yeah.
And imagine when it goes on sale now, though. Like,
yeah.
So like this is at least an acceptable entry level. Like for those that want to get it, like it's not completely out of the question now that it's $200 less. But yeah, now when it hits that holiday sale this time around, like Black Friday or whatever, like they're gonna really be discounted most likely, and that's gonna just exacerbate things further.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's like it's great, and it puts it way more competitive with Quest 3. And I think like building what you're saying in terms of like sales potential, and it's clearly a very interesting market, very traditional market for like classic premium game sales and stuff like that. Again, works for the showcase. We see so much interest on the PSVR2 side as like the vocal fan base, and that's why I'm always so keen to like make sure that we're serving that fan base, and obviously Quest and PCVR as well. But I think everything that people know and understand and love about like gaming fan bases, like the PSVR2 crowd is the most like traditional way forward without getting into monetizing metaverses and a bunch of crazy stuff that confuses me in my old age.
I definitely like the idea of like, hey, when this goes on sale, maybe like mid-year or something, we'll be hitting the lowest price point it's ever been at, right? They're not going to put it on sale for $350 again. It'll probably be $300, which is like crazy. I think that's the no-brainer price, right? When it's $300, you're like, well, I've been waiting. Let's just grab it. But Jay Meow had posted in our news channel that even right now, because of the price drop, the prices on used headsets has plummeted, right? You can grab a used headset for like $250 right now, which is crazy. Like you might as well just pick one up for an extra pair of Sense controllers. Yeah. It's a good deal.
Yeah, no, true. That's really good. But also just please God, clean that headset if you buy it used. Like,
especially if it's mine. Like,
take a flamethrower to that bad boy before you put it on.
Neither one of mine have been cleaned since I bought them. Like, you put it on, it smells like Brian in the worst possible way. Yeah, at least it doesn't smell like tornado. It might smell a little bit like tornado. It's all good. Jamie, if I have my facts correct, the stuff that you've announced so far for the VR Game Showcase on March 11th, if anybody's just getting here, is Hitman World of Assassination, RoboQuest VR, Wrath Aeon of Ruin, Ghost Town, Prison Boss Prohibition, Deep Cuts, Exoshock, and then a brand new game from Triangle Factory. I think you said specifically that it's a big announcement from Triangle Factory, and then Triangle Factory tweeted out, hey, I guess we're making games now. And basically the meme that they put out was like, hey, it's going to be a new game. So that's a lot of stuff already. That's not the complete lineup though, right? Because I think I remember hearing you say that there are more announcements from Flat to VR incoming as well.
Yep. So they're back. You're going to see something pretty similar to what we had in the last show in terms of we're kind of going to hand it over to them and say, hey, we know you've got some really great announcements. I always say to them when we're talking about it, you get the assignment in terms of like generating hype, like delivering trailers where people go, oh, I was not expecting that. So we're kind of handing it back over to them. You'll probably see them towards the end of the show again. And that's really, really good. I think, like, obviously it's really hard not to spoil this, and I've seen Wes struggle his way through talking on the show the past couple of weeks, which I really, really appreciate. But I think when I was on the show last time, and we'd confirmed that Flat to VR was going to be a part of it. I think we were in this interesting situation where some people were saying, look, Jill, calm your expectations. It's going to be like small indie stuff. Start with, they're not going to jump straight to like huge AAA projects. And I was like, I didn't know where to set expectations because I was like, that's like, it's true. They're not jumping straight to AAA stuff, but they've got bigger stuff than you think they would at this stage, right? And then we announced Flat Out and Trombone Champ and RoboQuest, and it's all in that really, again, kind of in that AA space that I think they work really, really well in right now. And I think this time I would try and put that same level of expectation on it. I think you're going to see things. You're not gonna get small games you've never heard of. You're gonna get franchises and stuff that you've heard of and be very interested in. And it's a really good reason to be excited to see what's new from them.
That's the dream right there, man. That's the kind of success we want to see Flat to VR have. I mean, there's a lot of people, counting on them to kind of bring, because, a lot of the PSVR2 base is a lot of gamers first. Before they were VR enthusiasts, they were gamers first. So that's why a lot of our community is so hardcore about games and good games. And the Flat Out announcement was huge. That's a really, really big one. For multiple reasons. It's a beloved IP for many people, but also it's a genre that we, just desperately need more of, which is like arcade racers. And, all of us bought these racing wheels. Way more people than you would expect have racing wheels this gen.
Which we found out very recently.
Yes.
When Exocars announced that there wouldn't be wheel support. Yeah, we found out exactly how many people had wheels, and it apparently was everybody. Wow, and they're vocal. It's good.
Immobilized.
Really yeah, for sure. Dude, I mean, but I'm even excited about things like I've never heard of RoboQuest. I've got the RoboQuest trailer playing right now. And I'm tired of roguelites and I'm just tired of, I don't know, like kind of cell shaded looking games. Like I hate to call them quest looking games, but they are. And then I was educated myself on it a little bit, mostly by reading through Steam reviews and finding out that this is a amazing game, and that I shouldn't sleep on it. Just because it's kind of I've been there and done that doesn't mean this doesn't have something amazing to offer. So I'm this might be one of my most anticipated titles from Flat to VR when it really shouldn't be at all. So I just think it requires I forget when it was. I think AJ, you were on the show with me. It was like 4 or 5 months ago. Somebody was in the chat was complaining about Netflix not having any content, and I'm like, what? Netflix has so much content. You just have to occasionally look outside of yourself and be like, yeah, well, this is a Netflix show, Netflix produced show, and it's not something I've ever heard of. So you got to test the waters and try different things. And I think that's where we're at with VR. There's a ton of content out there, a ton of great games. You just got to maybe check out some games you wouldn't have normally checked out if you're, if you were just a flat screen gamer. It requires a little bit on the player, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was probably me because I only renew my Netflix when a new Castlevania season drops.
Which is a great idea.
Right, you got me. All right. Yeah. And then I'll go watch, and then I watched Arcane, and then that's about it. But yeah, I scroll. I spend most of my time on Netflix just scrolling through Netflix. I basically pay to just scroll through it. But yeah.
No, listen. The smart thing to do, not that we need to get into a whole conversation about streaming services, but the smart thing to do is subscribe to have one a month and just and cancel at the end of the month and subscribe to something else.
That's what I do. I started that this year.
Yeah, $20 a month, you get to watch everything.
Yeah. And then if something a new season of something is out and they're dropping weekly, you're like, okay, well, I'll subscribe when it's all there and I can just do it once.
Yep. I'll be subscribing to Peacock for the second time ever once that Twisted Metal season 2 comes. Looking forward to that.
I'm going to subscribe to Peacock so that I can watch season 1 and season 2 during that month. You won't see me for 2 weeks straight because I'll just be in bed marathoning that shit.
Loved it.
All right, guys, I don't want these tips get too far away from us. So let's back up as far as we can go with Kill Artist 1, the Dreamweaver Game Cat with the $5 tip in the chat says, in Florida, vacationing, just got back to the resort just in time to relax and watch the show. Also, I love Pearl Jam, AJ and Jamie, LOL.
Oh yeah, oh, Kill Artist.
There are dozens of us. Dozens.
Sorry, I misread it because I in my head I heard him say, also I love Pearl Jam, AJ and Jamie, LOL. But I misread it.
Okay,
he's not laughing at you. That's good. Also, just FYI, I like Pearl Jam a lot too. I fell off.
You don't. No, you don't.
I've seen them twice live, and the second time I saw them was on the binaural tour, and that was the last album I ever bought, and that was the last album I'm even remotely familiar with. And there's a bunch of stuff that I'm hazy on. I know the first 3 albums incredibly well, like most people, and then kind of touch and go after that.
No Code was my jam, the 4th one. That's where they got really existential and weird and really changed what they were from before. That great garage grunge band, and then they just they had a drummer, Jack Irons. I can't remember who he played with someone else weird, but he was just writing loads of really weird stuff for them.
Self-title, baby. Self-title. Bring it. Let's all feel like we're on a cruise ship, sipping drinks, chilling out in your Hawaiian shirt, eating avocados.
So if I'm getting back into Pearl Jam, I have to do self-titled. Is that what I'm doing?
You do what you want, man.
I don't know, man. I always claim that I'm gonna get into.
They're very different. They're all different.
Yeah, I wouldn't these days. Like, it was good to be on the journey a while ago, but like now the tickets are like $200 a show. It's like, okay, you guys you used to be about the fan and
like when they bought Ticketmaster in court. I remember that, and then tickets became more expensive when they weren't through Ticketmaster. I remember all of this. Izzard with the level 1 membership says AJ is illuminated correctly. I don't like change. Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Can't please them all. I didn't even really try this time again, but I guess I put a little bit of thought into it. But
that's sort of the tagline for GameScast Live. Like PSVR GameScast Live, we didn't even really try this time.
I tried a little bit.
A little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Now let's try the game feeling with the $5 tip. Says, happy as a clam, we finally get a decent price on some Sense controllers, $400 for a pair. That's the best, almost the best we've had it. Hopefully that Apple thing will turn out to be real, and then we'll be able to buy them that way.
I didn't imagine that story. Every once in a while I see it and I'm like, really? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, depending on how long that deal has been in the works for, like if that deal has been in the works for a year or two, it kind of explains when we're like, well, why isn't Sony doing it? It's like, well, because Sony is working on having someone else do it.
Yeah.
All right,
under the radar.
Makes sense. I want to ask you more questions, Jamie, but some of this is just going to sound very uneducated.
Fine. Like I'm uneducated on all of it, so
perfect. Well, then let's see if you have answers for me, because Prison Boss Prohibition, I feel like got announced for PSVR2, but I don't. But then I feel like they kind of like walked that back a little bit and said they will announce something soon enough. And I don't know if there are PSVR2 announcements for Deep Cuts or ExoShock. I'm sure like Looper or somebody in the chat will tell me immediately what the case is for those. But both of them looked good. And I would be sad if there weren't PSVR2 versions coming. Is that stuff that we are just going to have to hold on and?
Yeah, I mean, my blanket answer for this stuff, because it's quite unclear to me, like right up until when we do the show as well, or right until I see a trailer and see the end plate, and I'm like, oh, it is coming to that and everything like that. And we work pretty closely with everyone to make sure that it's like crystal clear throughout the show what's coming to what, and if something's coming out on one platform but the others are delayed, we make sure that's all clear and everything like that. So my blanket thing with any platform is always, and especially on the PSVR2 front, if we're just announcing something that's just on Quest or PCVR, which I think ExoShock is just announced for those platforms right now, it's always down the line, right? It's always a possibility down the line, especially with something like that, I think. So like for me, it's like I actually think we have a really very healthy amount of PSVR2 announcements, and we'll have developers that have been on PSVR2 before, but their next project isn't there quite yet. And some like direct port announcements we're going to have for PSVR2 as well, I think. Let me look at the list. Maybe I made that up. I don't know. But the good stuff. And it's just go with the flow in terms of that stuff. Like, don't sweat it if something's not on it, unless it's like directly funded by and published by Meta. Then there's a good chance that you're gonna. I think at this point, especially talking about the momentum, especially talking about the price drop, especially talking about games selling really, really well compared to other platforms. I think people are starting to realize that a multi-platform approach is pretty key for them in VR right now.
Yeah.
Sweet. Is there anything you want
I think I dodged that quite well, right? Like I didn't
think
get too much trouble.
You did good. You did
okay. It's all about just putting words together and not stumbling over them. And people just go, oh, that's fine.
Yeah.
I agree with you about the importance of like multi-platform. I think there has been this like realization that or we started to see like a bit of a ceiling with the VR space, and we've seen a lot of bad things happen with like exclusives and just like them not taking off as much as they could or taking full advantage of that potential. And I've being a Sony fan for a long time, like and Nintendo fan, like I've liked exclusives a lot of my life. But I think with VR, it's just so much different. Like you need to utilize every platform you can. It's just the landscape has changed, and especially after all the devastating stuff we've just been seeing happening to the games industry, I think it's more important than ever to be multi-platform. And totally cool with them like announcing it and then being like, hey, it's coming to this platform later. Or if they're gauging interest, like we saw like Zero Caliber devs the other day, they were like gauging interest on that, and their tweet like exploded. And it's just kind of organically, still figuring things out and finding the way. And it's been interesting to watch.
Yeah, it's definitely like a period of readjustment, right? Like so much of the conversation in VR right now is what's going on with Quest. And every podcast, every news outlet is talking about it week in, week out. And I'm really interested in what's happening on that platform, and I'm really interested in this new wave of experience we're seeing that is taking off. But I think for everyone that's kind of got the more traditional mindset in terms of I'm making this really cool 5-hour action game or something like that, like multi-platform is more important than ever, because like Steam has always been a consistent earner if you get the like kind of demographic and everything like that right. Like Vertigo Games, all across the board, all of their titles have done really well on Steam and Quest and PSVR2 or PlayStation VR. And I think it takes the right approach, but like if you nail that multi-platform approach, it's like so much more viable to be in this space than just hoping that you'll get by or get noticed on Quest or something like that.
Jamie, is it cool if I ask about some of the about how the VR showcase itself works in terms of like the business side of things? Only because
of course.
I've been super curious about it. I don't know if this is something like our viewers are interested in or not, but like do obviously you're giving these developers a platform in order to spread the word. And so does that mean do they contact you? Do you contact them? How does the initial correspondence happen? Is there money involved in terms of like them paying you in order to get this extra exposure? I'm just as somebody who's tried to put a couple of these shows together before, it is a ton of work, and it's a ton of emails, and it's like months of like just nonstop correspondence with people. And then when you usually see the views on it, as far as the ones that I've done, they're so low that like I can't justify keep doing it and then not getting out reviews and everything else like during that month or two that I'm like working around the clock on it. So I guess I'm more curious for myself how you're managing to make this happen.
Yeah, I'm super happy to break this down, because to me, basically our model is the Jeff Keighley thing of people do pay to be a part of the show. And I always want to be 100% transparent about that, like first and foremost, because I think one of the interesting things on the Jeff Keighley side is he tries to kind of play it close to the chest. And I think there's like a whole narrative about it being wrong or bad, that's the way you go about these things because of that. And I don't think that's the case. I think what me and Zena, my partner that I work with on this full time, set out to do is create that vehicle for the industry that is really well known for delivering loads of hype, big announcements, big updates, everything like that. So it's a pretty tricky approach in that, yes, we do have a fee for taking part for each developer, but at the same time, curation is super, super important to us. So if someone comes with a truckload of cash, but we don't actually think the game is right for the audience, we just have to be straight up and say, look, really appreciate what you're doing.
But bring a bigger boatload of cash.
Yeah, but I need more, damn it, more. But like it genuinely is that. And like many, like even some of the very close partners that we work with in the first show have like projects and things like that where we said, we don't feel like that's right for this show. We're happy to talk about these other games that you've got. But in terms of the core gaming audience and people that are going to watch this and get a kick out of it and actually tune in, this isn't the right project for that, essentially. So yeah, we charge on like how much time a studio has, and we always kind of try and make sure that it's fair. We have kind of a cap on time. If someone wants to go over that, we don't like double up the price or anything like that. In terms of what other showcases and things like that charge, it's not badly priced compared to them, which I'm super proud of, because we stay a lean operation. It is just me and Zena, and then we pay quite a lot to use the studio that we use, and promotion stuff like that. But that is how it works essentially, and I think that's how it's going to be for the foreseeable future. Like you can always talk about like, do you want to get into sponsorships, and instead of having developers pay, maybe Meta comes up front and says, oh, we want to pay this much to just sponsor the whole show, but then how much creative control are you giving over to them when they say, no, we actually don't want this game that's not on the Quest? Or if you want to work with Steam closer, are they going to say, actually, we don't want to work with you closer anymore because the Meta logo is on everything in the show? So sponsorship's a really tricky area that like we don't really want to mess with, at least at this point of time. Maybe if the show gets bigger, and maybe if we find a great partner that would want to carry that kind of cost or something, then we could make it happen.
I was gonna say it's probably better to get like funding for the show and everything, the operation, from like multiple sources, like from the developers. Until you said Meta, and I'm like, wait, no, like give me that Meta money, man. Like I'll just make it all Meta show. I'm sorry, Brian. Our PSVR2 showcase is all Meta games, because I want that Meta money, baby.
maybe that truckload of money is coming to my door someday, and then I'll sell out and I'll be like, can't be on the GAMESCAST anymore, guys. Sorry, sipping margaritas.
Well, at least we'll know what happened if you stop talking to us. I'll be like, dude made it. Go, Jamie.
But the other part of it is that I also want to make it very clear that we're not just like, it costs this much money, drop it off at this time, and we'll see you later. Thanks for the check. It's we always see ourselves as, first of all, consultants with the people we're working with. So we always want to start at the very start of what asset they want to make, and we know our audience. We know what they're going to respond well to. We know what the game has shown before, or if it's going to be a new announcement or anything like that. And so we want to work with those guys and say, actually, we think this time around, seeing as you've already done a couple of trailers and we've already got this many trailers in the show, you should do like a 2-minute gameplay video, develop a deep dive, something like that. And the other part we do is the PR side. Again, it's not just we're like, it's on YouTube and hope you go watch it. We talk to you guys, we talk to every influencer, we talk to all the media outlets, we talk to IGN and GameSpot and everything like that to try and like push the show as wide as possible. So we're really trying to push it just beyond our YouTube video. We don't want people to see it as us trying to like get exclusives. Like, we want the debut of a trailer or something to be in the show, yes, but we also then want to push it as far and wide, and it be as many channels and get as much notoriety as possible, really. So
that has proved to be much more effective for VR games as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Not doing this exclusive stuff. Just give it to everybody. Let as many people get the word out as possible. It's just what it takes right now. It's really important.
Yeah. So I mean, like, ultimately, I feel like, yeah, I could be like, oh yeah, no, we do ask for money, but I don't really want to talk about that. But like, I'd rather just be honest with people up front and say, yeah, like, we need to make a living out of this. It like you said, Ryan, it takes so much work. Like, this one has been 6 months of planning with like an increasing workload by the month, to the point where like this week we'll basically be crunching. I've been working since I got up, and I'll be working right through to Tuesday, and then I'll be working to get like post-show socials out the door and everything like that. And it's an insane amount of work. So we also do, want to recognize that and say, no, we do deserve money for doing this, and to make a living out of it, basically. And it's, like it's working quite well so far, and I have hopes that we can keep going this way. Essentially, unless Meta wants to turn up with a boatload of money.
Well, I like the curation element of it, Jamie, because even when you were up at Upload, and I know you had a big part in those showcases. It just never felt like there was any curation, right? It was the long bloated showcases that just went on and on with games that looked identical to each other, and it looked like they were all made by, again, no offense intended, because we love so many games that were made by one person, but it looks like all of the games in those showcases were made by one person. They all looked like it, right? We've seen tons of games that don't look like they were made by one person, and so there's like this generic Quest look, and again, not to make that a pejorative, but when all these games, one after another just have the same look to them, you're like, all right, we get it. You took. I mean, and I'm not trying to throw Upload under the bus here in this either. But it is definitely a different business model. Clearly, when you're like focusing on Wrath, Aeon of Ruin, and in RoboQuest and Hitman, these are you would never look at these games and go, God, this all looks the same. This is VR is moving backwards. You would never have those thoughts when watching a showcase. And I do think that there's a certain responsibility when it comes to putting together a showcase where you are representing VR in a sense, right? And you don't want to be like, oh, here's the worst part of our industry, right? So I applaud what you're doing, man.
Oh, thank you. No, I think it's interesting. I think, back when we started the Upload thing, me and Zena, back in 2019, and I'm like super proud of what we did on that show. And I still think, I mean, you've said before in streams after them that it is great that there's still this platform out that does throw the net wide and highlight stuff that wouldn't usually get highlighted otherwise. But one of the big reliefs for me working on this show is that my dynamic with partners can be so much different than it was before, right? Like at the end of the day, Upload, that was a passion project I started on the side. And it was kind of tricky working with partners because I might go and write a review that gives them 2 out of 5 after they gave us a big exclusive, a couple of months later or something like that, right? So for me, it was like, also, if I wanted to continue doing something like this, I really wanted to remove the journalist side of it, because it was starting to get a bit like, I'm quite friendly with some of these people, and the whole dynamic of being a journalist wasn't quite working like it should have been.
Turn
at that
around
point.
and you're like, your game sucks.
Exactly. So it enables me to be in a much more comfortable position doing it here under this kind of banner than if I then had to go, keep doing a whole bunch more Upload stuff. So I think, and the way it worked out that I went away for and worked at Vive for a year, and then I worked at Fast Travel for a year, and then it just so made sense to me that this was what was missing from the industry, and to be able to come back was perfect timing. Really, I feel really, really ridiculously lucky to be doing it, because all of us grew up in loving E3, right? Like I remember watching the earliest E3s, or buying magazines when you couldn't even watch it to read what had happened there that month. And so we all love the 2016 Sony showcase with God of War and Spider-Man, and the year before that with Final Fantasy and Last Guardian and everything like that. I love the heart-pounding excitement I feel when a showcase is just hitting its stride. And that's what I always want to be. Obviously, I'm not Sony. I'm not like, you have to have this vertical slice ready in 2 months. But I'm always trying
give it a couple
to do
years.
something like that. Yeah,
you will be eventually.
When I'm Jeff Keighley,
yeah, right. It's so funny you bring all this up, because I was talking to my buddy JP in the voice chat over on Discord today, and he just casually mentioned Scary Larry from GamePro. And it is so random, and to be like, oh, there's so many names from the past in video gaming, whether it be from Electronic Gaming Monthly or GamePro or whatever it might be, or even the early days of IGN, and all these people they just move around the industry, and a lot of them haven't disappeared. Scary Larry is a big question mark, because we're like, what the fuck, what where did he go?
Where'd that guy go?
What's that guy's real name? What? But
yeah, sure.
here we are, we're witnessing somebody like you that's kind of bouncing around the industry, and hope it just be really. But it also shows us how VR is still in its infancy, and where is everyone going to end up permanently, or for their long-term career. This might be it for you. The VR games showcase might be your last stop, and it's it just takes off, and you help propel VR forward. But
totally.
what I'm trying to say is, if there's anyone out there hiring,
You? Is that, yeah?
just
That's
say.
what you're...
All right. See you guys.
I
It's
can
been
make
a
some
pleasure.
calls if you want.
Right. Yeah.
Matt's going to show up with a boatload of money at your door in a couple of seconds.
Dude,
taking it?
I keep trying to tease them and say, we'll convert over. I got my Quest 3 charging. Look, even the charging light is on, ready to go for when the boatload of money shows up. I'm like, I'm ready to go, you guys. I'm ready to go.
If you put the headset on, the boatload of money is
wire.
sitting in the headset. It's right there.
There you go. There you go. Sorry. I just love that the chat is like never interested in what we're saying. They're always having their own conversation, like whatever it is.
I think it is time we get the chat's attention. Chat, listen up. Because I think, Brian, if you're cool with it, we should ask Jamie, without spoiling any of the surprises, what kind of things we can look forward to, and what kind of surprises, and what kind of expectations, and what awesome things are you going to do? Tell us it all.
Yeah, you got a list of stuff you're gonna. You got some breaking newsworthy stuff for the show.
Not on the spot officially.
I got to give you like some sort of scoop. So tomorrow we are going to do the next like lineup of partners.
Okay.
I could probably spoil one now. Probably. Like I'm just gonna say it, and we'll see if you're excited to see some more perp game stuff. You will see some more perp game stuff.
New.
Ooh. More.
But I won't talk about which games
stuff.
they are.
I know.
So the speculation can still be there in the
I know
ether.
it maybe. I know it.
AJ, just Jamie, cover yours. AJ, I'm gonna bet it's cold VR. You think it's cold VR?
I was thinking Underdogs.
Oh, right. Because the physical for that's been known for a bit, and
they've been
haven't
teasing
released.
about that coming out really, really soon. So
Ooh, and Slender, wasn't that supposed to be early 2025?
yeah, who cares?
Okay, so I'm putting my bets down on Underdogs, Slender, and Cold. That way I
Maybe
can't be
Cold.
wrong because I can't think of any. Right, because I could.
But
push
my
back
money's
for
on
PSVR
my
too.
money's on Underdogs. But Cold obviously is supposed to be coming at some point. But I just feel like Underdogs is close.
Yeah,
It'd be a good time, wouldn't it, Jamie? Be a really good time.
It could be. It could
to
be.
give it a release date.
It'd be very interesting to do something like that, I'm sure.
It would be. It'd be very interesting. But
I've
wait
got
and
too many
see.
windows. I've got too many
Just have
windows
to wait
open.
and see.
Does Jamie have a good poker face? I can't see him right now. Does he?
He's got a pretty good poker.
I think I had a pretty good one. It did slip a little bit at one point. I thought, no, you
His
messed that
camera's
up.
helping him out and kind of going blurry occasionally.
Yeah. Gemini's like, nope, protect him. Thank you, Gemini, I guess. That feels weird to say. Gemini's not helping me.
What does Gemini do?
Gemini's the Google AI thing, right? So just it's alive and it's looking out for my best intentions, right? Google paid the truckload of money. That's what I'm saying. Yeah,
Perfect.
they're up.
Yep.
Anyway,
So what else we got? What else we got?
So
What other little tidbits can
You're
you give
so
us?
determined.
What do we
AJ.
confirm?
I was here to play. I wasn't here to play hardball, but if you're gonna play hardball, man, I'm gonna let you host the show. We'll do it up.
Like we can talk about like what we've confirmed is coming. I mean, we've talked about Ghost Town. We've talked a bit about Prison Boss, Triangle Factory.
The Prison Boss, is that a sequel? Is that what I heard? Sounds like
That's Prohibition. That's an announced project from the Trebuchet guys.
Okay.
Got some
and it's a sequel. It's a sequel to the original Prison Boss.
Yeah,
right?
I believe they would define it
Okay.
as such.
I love Winds and Leaves, man. I want them to make a Winds and Leaves.
Super cool.
game.
Now that's a nostalgic VR game for me at this point, right? Like back when,
Great.
yeah.
It was only like 4 years ago, 5 years ago.
I know. That's how fast time moves. I feel like that was like 20 years ago.
Yeah.
I think that's all I can say. Probably. Yeah.
That works.
I've given you a little exclusive.
You told us
scoop.
You told us Flat to VR is going to have something big, I think.
Oh,
right?
that too. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been very generous.
Yeah. That's very generous, because I think the flat to VR on a AA sized project or so, perhaps. I think a lot of people are going to be excited about that, for sure.
I think there's a lot to talk about from that side that you're gonna be excited to see.
Nice.
Well, at least Wednesday's show will be fun. No, what day?
Do you have the show ready? Do you know how long it is, or how long it's approximately going to be?
We've got about just over 20 minutes of content, which when you add in the speaking bits, the boring bits where I'm on the camera, will probably take it up to maybe about 30.
Well, you gotta have some sex appeal, so
Well,
naturally
exactly.
you gotta be there. You gotta make it. You gotta make a sexy VR show.
You're too kind. But and the other, I mean, one of the other points again in the whole curation thing is I don't want the show to last an hour, like ever. Like, so we haven't got to the point yet where I feel like we could do like 45 minutes solidly. But that would be like probably the cap for me to say, hey, it's going to be 45 minutes. We're going to have like 25, 30 games or something like that. But the curation thing has just been like a real big hit with people. Basically, at the end of the day, they so appreciate that it's like you get your breathing space within the show. It's not a lot of stuff, and you kind of forgotten what was at the start of the show by the time you see it.
Very good. Very good. March? When is it, Ryan? March
11th, 9 a.m.
Yep.
PT, and all the various time zones that come with that. That's what, like 12
Noon for
p.m.
me.
ET,
That's way too
2 p.m.
early.
UK.
Can we request a
time zones
push
are
it?
the worst.
Sorry, but then it's way
push
too
it
late
back.
for me, and then it just doesn't work.
I
Why don't we?
I recently learned that Arizona actually alternates time zones.
What?
It's crazy. Yeah, Arizona. I asked somebody in Arizona. Don't ask me why. It was work related, and I was like, what time zone are you? And they got so confused, and they were like, I'm so sorry, I don't know. And I was like, what? I'm like, are you Mountain Time? Are you, you're Mountain Time, right? And they're like, actually, it changes. And I was like, what? So there's your fun fact for the day, that Arizona actually alters between Pacific Time and Mountain Time.
No idea when the show is on. If you're listening in Arizona, just log on at some point and maybe it's there.
Wow. Like, dude, time zones are already stupid enough. The daylight savings change is already stupid enough for I don't even know. I would just move.
Daylight savings is actually happening. Yeah, that's happening very soon too. Like a couple days.
Wait, really? So
Oh, in the US?
Yeah, it's springing forward.
Forward.
I think the
fall,
7th.
back. Wait, are
Okay, so
are we
I'm
in
the end of the
spring?
month.
But that's not, they're going to change anything. I mean,
End of the month, we do an hour, but then so there's always like this especially if you're a journalist and you're working with embargoes and stuff, there's always this 2 weeks of chaos where people are sending you an embargo and you're like, did you get the right time? Because we're a different time right now. And I've broken a few embargoes based on that back in the day.
yeah.
All right. Anyway. All right, man. Well, we're definitely excited for the show. Thanks for the little preview. Definitely looking forward to it. We'll be streaming it right here. Not that you can't give views to the actual VR game showcase.
Watch it where you want to watch it, man.
Yep.
Like that's the whole thing. I like if you guys ended up getting more views than me, and I would be like over the moon. Like it just watch it where you want to
That's
watch
not
it.
gonna happen.
Enjoy it.
Can we put a pizza
might
bet
do.
on it?
We'll give you a drive-by like.
It might happen. You've got more. You got years of it. We're just like a little tiny YouTube channel at the end of the day.
Now I kind of want to make it a thing. Like
I do not want to make it a thing.
Like, all right, guys, this is our goal: is to get more views on Without Parole than the official VR games showcase. No, it's like whatever. It's cool, man. Cool. Looking forward to it. Guys, we got a couple little news stories here to talk about before we call it a day. We're actually going to start with this, but then like the second we started the show, it was like, hey, let's do
right
this.
into it.
Right?
Showcase.
Which totally works for me. Did you guys see the news that Rockstar Games acquired the studio behind L.A. Noire, the VR case files?
I did today.
Because I'm trying to bring up the article and it's not working very well. So just give me 1 second here, and then we'll bring it up.
It was. I love their original name, Video Games Deluxe. What a great name. You know, what did that even mean?
Right? It sounds like they should be porting DS games in the early 2000s. Anyway, Rockstar Games to acquire Video Games Deluxe. That's so funny. Like I didn't even realize that was the title of the studio because it was just so generic. I just thought it was a generic headline. Rockstar Games is proud to announce the acquisition of Video Games Deluxe, a Sydney-based development studio. The studio will be renamed Rockstar Australia, which is, I would say, just as generic, to be honest with you. Video Games Deluxe has worked with Rockstar on some of its most memorable titles, including the 2017 re-releases of LA Noire, the VR case files, and most recently, upgrades to Grand Theft Auto, the trilogy, the definitive edition for iOS and Android, Netflix, and modern consoles. After working together with closely over many years, we're excited to have Video Games Deluxe join the team at Rockstar Australia, said Rockstar Games head of publishing, Jennifer Colby, possibly, that might be her name. Rockstar Games' relationship with Video Games Deluxe team began with founder Brendan McNamara's former studio, Team Bondi, with the creation of the critically acclaimed and groundbreaking title, LA Noire. Lots of just normal crappy PR speak. We don't really need to read through all of this. Does this tell us anything about Rockstar's interest in VR? The fact that these were the guys who did LA Noire, the VR case files, or have they just done enough other stuff to kind of like write it off as, well, this is a good support studio?
So the other thing about this is that I think it's widely thought, and I think has been confirmed in various like LinkedIn posts across the internet, is that they were also the studio that was doing GTA San Andreas VR for Quest, which now I believe is officially on hold, even if every once in a while some poor meta community manager says, no, I think it's coming, and you're like, no, dude, it's not. So it's, I guess it's just a question of like, are those projects still in the works at all, or is it all just kind of on the back burner and they're on to something else entirely? You know, which I would suggest it's probably the latter, right? Probably.
Yeah, I mean, based on their recent work, it's I don't know, it's tough. Obviously, the optimist in me would definitely say, well, this is great. They want to spend more time focusing on VR, but not have to do it like internally as you know, their own studio, Rockstar North. I
mean, they've got so much money, like they got nothing to lose by adding a VR mode to anything or making a VR version of anything. They have so much money. And GTA 6 is going to make them a lot of money as well for the next decade. So they really got nothing to lose in doing this. And yeah, LA Noire VR case files, even though it wasn't the best VR port, whatever you want to call it, like it had some very immersion breaking mechanics to it. It also was just phenomenal just to see that game like in VR in an official capacity. And some of the technology getting up close and personal with it was amazing. And it was a lot of fun. It was like the best 7.5 I've ever played.
In retrospect, that's so crazy to say. Like, I mean, yes, I agree with you. However, like, I mean, it was one of the few open worlds in PSVR1. You could just walk up to your car and get in and just like drive.
Driving, man. The driving was so good.
It felt amazing to be driving Move controllers and driving these fucking big metal boats down the streets. You could feel that. You could hear the cars creaking, and these were really populated cities too, especially if you were on the Pro. I think they populated them a little bit more if you had the extra horsepower. And they looked good. It's weird that like we lived during an era where like something like this happened, and it was like, I don't know if, I mean, obviously we were excited about it when it happened, but like, I think we also just at this time expected that this was going to be a regular thing. And then here we are all these years later, and it turns out that this was not a regular thing, and that maybe we should have been a little bit more excited about the prospect of this happening.
Yeah, it's tough on that front, isn't it? Like, I mean, the thing about Case Files was it was abridged, right? Like, it wasn't the original game one for one. It was like I think
like 2/3 of the game.
Yeah, and there wasn't any combat or anything. Like, there weren't like fist fights, or were there?
There
weren't like firefights. There weren't.
Yeah.
Gun.
There was definitely shootouts.
Yeah. Oh, there were. Okay, well.
And then there was like
that one, did I?
There was like the boxing mode and stuff.
Oh, right.
So there was like, but I don't know in terms of the campaign. But
there was.
You're still right though. Like, it was different than the original version.
Yeah.
It wasn't just converted.
And it just very much came from that era of people trying to work out if this stuff worked at all in the first place, right? Like it's very much
early.
Yeah, and very much of the like the Batman Arkham VR where you can't move and you're just doing detective work and you can't do combat, all the way up to Arkham Shadow that does try and be a full Arkham game in VR, right? So it feels like this studio and Rockstar probably got stuck in that experimental phase and didn't move on to the okay, now what does a full game, like what does taking Red Dead 2, or I guess they were working on San Andreas and like actually this doesn't work, at least in on a Quest. I would love to find out what happened with that version of that game at the end of the day, because it like that came just after, or it got announced just after Resident Evil 4 VR, which was so good on Quest, and it felt like Facebook was going to hit a stride of like really good PSVR2 ports and stuff like that. So it was a huge shame it didn't end up working out. But it's been so long now. Well, it was like 2020 that was announced. So what, like 4 years maybe? Maybe it was 21. But like there can't be any hope. And they did the remastered GTA trilogy since then. So they clearly like pivoted to doing that or whatever as well. Or they could be working on it still.
Anything's possible. Anything's possible. Jamie, you're not on the show enough so I kind of want to make sure that before we call it quits and do a 4-minute challenge. Also, keep in mind, I think we're going to have you host the 4-minute challenge. So make sure you pick out a PSVR1 or PSVR2 game that you're going to quiz us on.
Oh man!
Right,
oh god!
For us to guess. Is that wrong? Should he not host, AJ, or should he host?
I mean, you got to give him time to pick something.
Yeah, well, that's why I feel like we'll have a whole nother conversation here before that happens.
Okay.
What is the 4-minute challenge? I don't know that bit.
It's basically like 20 questions, like where we just ask you yes or no questions to figure out what game you're thinking of. But instead of 20 questions, we have an infinite number of questions, but only 4 minutes.
Okay. Can I do a PSVR 1 game?
Yes, you can. But don't tell us if it's PSVR 1 because they'll have to.
No, I got a good one.
We'll find out within 2
AJ,
I mean, I haven't got
PSVR
one.
1 game.
It's not a PSVR 1 game.
Wait, I kind of want to figure out where you're at right now. I mean, obviously, when you're so entrenched in VR that you're doing a VR game showcase as like your full-time gig, you've got to have a certain level of optimism when it comes to VR. But I feel like there's so much doom and gloom sometimes in all VR communities, right? I mean, just it's a lot, and you got to kind of filter it out. And like we've dealt with it, and it feels like VR is slowly becoming a little bit more accepted by the mainstream. I just kind of want to get your perspective of where you think VR is. Do you think we're in a much better place than we were 8 years ago? Do you think we're in a similar space? Like how much further do you think we have to go until we have like mainstream adaptation?
I think I spend too much time thinking about this than I probably should, because I think at the end of the day, VR is an incredibly complicated medium, and I think about things like how you could look at it on the surface level and say, oh hey, Meta just like bundled in Batman with a new Quest headset, and that's amazing, and you're like, yes it is, but like my brother-in-law bought that, got sick straight away, and was like, oh, I don't know if this is going to work for me. And it's like this really multi-stranded, hard thing to figure out of pleasing guys like us that we all want to, have smooth locomotion and do these cool cinematic narrative games. Keeping people that are getting into VR happy with, fresh new content that is comfort driven. And I'm not personally someone that like massively believes in the idea of people repeatedly going through sickness experiences to feel like they'll get over it one day to then come and join all the flat to VR stuff or whatever. That's going to be pretty intense. Obviously flat to VR made Trombone Champ, which is not intense. And then the changing dynamics of kind of what you see on console right now of like, in January, 40% of time was spent on free to play games like on PS5 and Xbox. And that's being massively reflected in the industry on Quest in general. Is I think Meta released a stat recently that's like 70% of time on Quest right now is free to play games. And I think I've spent a long time kind of reckoning with that element of it, where I've been like, oh, that's not quite the way I thought it was going to go. I thought we were going to get these, big cinematic games that were really going to be incredibly immersive and draw people in. But I'm doing a lot of research and coming around to that not necessarily being a terrible thing. It not necessarily be like, people can start changing the way they make games and their mindsets to still satisfy both audiences. I think if you look at something like Contractors on Quest, that's an online game with huge, great install base, lots of people playing it, but also speaks to us at the end of the day. That is the kind of game and experience that we really, really like. So I'm not really doom and gloom about it, because I feel like everyone's going to find a way, and the next level of VR content that we arrive at is something that's going to marry a lot of what we love and a lot of what people are doing in terms of free to play and stuff like that right now. I know there's probably in chat people are saying like free to play is garbage, never want to do anything like that and stuff, and I do get that. I obviously get that, but I think we're learning so much about the medium and what is going to really push retention and keep people inside a technology that's still, really uncomfortable at the end of the day. We all love it. Like PSVR2 is such a huge jump up from PSVR1, but like in terms of asking like most people to get home from work, cut off from reality, stand up, play a game, everything like that, it's still a huge challenge. So I just think we're still learning so much about it, man. And I think I don't think it's as simple as saying, oh, one day, Sony's going to fund the next $100 million budget games, and that's when everyone will get it. I think it's going to come much more naturally and organically. I think it's really, really interesting that another Axiom released Gorilla Tag and have a very, very young audience. And last week they released Orion Drift, and that's kind of skewing a little older in terms of going after the Echo VR crowd and everything like that as well. And I think that's where like a lot of the really, really interesting and important work is happening right now. And I think where we are and where the kind of blockbuster stuff we love is always going to keep existing, and people are going to keep pushing that angle of it, and we're going to be happy throughout the year with new releases and stuff like that, like we have been for the past couple of years anyway. But where it goes on that kind of frontier, I'm getting like increasingly interested in a way I don't think I would have thought I would have done like a couple of years ago, essentially, which is a long way of saying I don't know, really.
No, I think you brought up some excellent points. I think with another Axiom, especially, it is so easy to just point at Gorilla Tag and be like, free to play, kids, squeakers, right? It's so easy to do that. But yet the biggest problem or the biggest hurdle I've seen VR have is that a lot of gamers aren't as old as I am, right? A lot of gamers that weren't 15 years old, like what a perfect age to be when Nick Arcade was a thing, and when the Lawnmower Man first, came to theaters, and it was like, yes, this is, as somebody who was playing a Sega Genesis at that time, being like, this is the future of games. This is going to be amazing. And then you patiently wait as like, all these different developers, all these different hardware manufacturers talk about VR, then never bring anything to market for literal decades, right? And so when it finally comes out and I'm in my late 30s, I'm like, this is what I've been waiting for my whole life, right? Kids are like, grew up with games in their pocket, games on tablets, like the convenience of playing games was just so there all the time that like I don't think most kids cared about VR and being like, oh, I want to get in the game, I want to play this from the inside. Like that wasn't on their list of concerns or priorities, like when it came to their hobby. But then you get a game like Gorilla Tag and it goes viral as far as VR is concerned. And you get kids now like on a school bus talking about Gorilla Tag, and now their friends are asking their parents for a request so they can go play Gorilla Tag with their friends. This is the best we could possibly hope for kids to be interested in VR, right? So we can make fun of it all we want to. We can put it down and say, oh, free to play, oh, silly, whatever. But it's essential. Like this is because hopefully a lot of those kids will still be playing VR in 5, 10, 15 years. And as we get more AAA games, they'll be hopefully interested in those games, and everything's cyclical, and we'll just be they'll be buying games, and the industry will be expanding. So I think Gorilla Tag was a very important moment for us.
That's
For
the
sure, no, 100%
organic.
agree.
That's the organic type of growth that will continue. We're really never gonna know what's successful until it's successful, and what's working until it works. And but it's nonstop interesting. That's for sure.
I still there are things you can do in headset today. I mean I play a lot of smooth locomotion games, but obviously when you are gliding, the camera is gliding along. I'm like I'm not really there and stuff like that. But like Walkabout, I played Walkabout with my niece like 2 nights ago, and like that's as good as the real thing, man. Like I'm having just as much fun as I would have going to see her and doing that like in real life,
or like more fun, right? Like
exactly, yeah.
So much more fun.
Yeah, and I think like there's just and that's the other thing. Like I always find it funny that we view this as like an existential thing of like, is VR going to make it? Because it's like you can argue that maybe you at some point someone wants to give up on it and like product lines end and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, are you seriously telling me that once it gets that good, that once you really are genuinely in it, going, holy crap, like I 100% believe I'm in this place, and like my hands have haptics and I'm getting all the sensations that are around me and everything like that. Are you like really telling me even the staunchest VR critic today would be like, nah, I don't want to do that? Like, it just like, of course not. The second you can have like the proper Star Wars experience with feedback on the lightsaber and everything like that, are you really telling me that everyone would be like, nah, that's not for me? No way. It's crazy.
Agreed. Yeah. Also, I just played a little bit of Walkabout recently. The other night. I hadn't played it in months. Just missed pack after pack after pack of DLCs, and finally played the Wallace and Gromit DLC, which I'm more of a Shaun the Sheep kind of guy, but like it was so good, man. So inventive and really good stuff. And I loved the look of it. It was great. And then I played what was the other one I played? The 8-bit layer, which as a retro gamer like totally spoke to me on like a great level. So good. Yeah. So good. So anybody not playing Walkabout, you should be.
Yeah, and we all talk about like, again, like Gorilla Tag being like the model, but like Walkabout's been there for forever now, like a relatively affordable entry price, and then relatively affordable DLCs. And guess what? They've been doing it for like 3 or 4 years now, and it's working for them. They don't necessarily need to go and make another game. Maybe they will. I don't know. But like that as a platform,
just remaster it. Just remaster it. Same game or remake it.
AJ wants a photorealistic Walkabout.
I'm telling you, that's what a lot of developers, if they have a successful game, that's just reiterate on it. Yeah. Just do the same thing,
the platform for that thing,
and enhance it, and just keep doing that until you've made Walkabout Mini Golf 10, and it's it's in everybody's living room, like 20 years from now.
Listen, I would like being able to like just click a button in the lobby as technology improves, and they're able to add better textures and whatever to their courses. I would love to be able to click a button and be like, oh, realism mode. It's like cool. Yeah, now I'm playing a photorealistic course. That would be cool.
Yeah.
And it would appeal to more people. But whatever. We don't need to tell Mighty Coconut how to run their business, because they clearly know what they're doing.
They're doing just
fine. They're doing okay. They're doing all right for themselves.
Atomic Teapot, the Game Cat with the Australian $2 tip, says free-to-play kids going to grow up and be very comfy with VR. That's fucking true, man.
That's very, very true.
Yeah. Can't wait for all these kids to grow up. 10 years from now, VR is going to be killing it.
Make our games, youngins.
Hey, would you guys grow up faster? Jesus.
Yeah, please. Taking too long.
All right, Jamie. Sounds like you got a game picked out for us. It's time to do a little 4-minute challenge. That means everybody in the chat needs to help us out. It's not often we have 2 people playing the game. It's usually 1-to-1. And so, AJ, this would be real embarrassing. Keep in mind, AJ, he picked a game like without looking at the PlayStation Store. He picked a game from the top of his head. I feel like if we can't pick a game from the top of Jamie's head, then we have lost all credibility. Are you ready to lose all credibility in 4 minutes?
It's a deep cut. Oh, so I've got to stop giving it away. Sorry, it's not a deep cut.
I assumed it was going to be a deep cut, so fine.
Okay.
This is great. All right, guys, help us out in the chat. We're going to need all the help we can get. I'm going to put the clock up on the counter the way that Jeremy likes it. On your mark, get Des. This is it right here. Is this the one? This one? Yeah. Go. Go kick it off, AJ.
Is it on PSVR2?
No.
All right. Is it on other headsets other than PSVR 1, Quest or Steam?
Yes.
Okay.
Are there dinosaurs in it? Did you say something? There's no dinosaurs in it?
No. Oh, sorry. I did say no. Did it not?
No,
pick that up?
I think
it cut off.
4-minute challenge, suckers.
Right. This is what we call AJ in the
Fair
fuck out of
game.
it. All right.
Fair game.
Is your the primary thing you're doing in this game shooting guns?
No.
Is it a puzzle game?
No.
Is it horror themed?
No.
Is it on rails?
No.
Is it cartoony? Graphically?
Yeah.
Okay.
Does it support the DualShock 4?
I don't think so.
Was it a launch
Probably.
title for PSVR 1?
It was definitely in that era.
Okay.
Not a puzzle game. It's not a horror game. It's not a shooter. Is it comedic?
No. It's not accounting.
That's
Love
following the
accounting
same
costs.
yeah. Okay. Is it first person?
Yes.
Is it based off of Batman?
No.
Is it based on any IP?
No.
Okay.
Did you ask if it has multiplayer? Have we asked that?
No.
Does it have multiplayer?
No multiplayer.
Ooh.
Is it a rhythm game?
No.
Is it?
Is it a?
Do you,
Sorry.
go ahead.
Is it a simulator?
No.
Do you have any cool forms of locomotion?
Any cool form of like beyond
Like
walking?
a grappling hook? Yeah. anything
Oh
other
right,
than
no,
walking.
no. Yeah,
Okay.
no. Walking's pretty cool. Though.
Does it have
Walking's-
full locomotion?
Yes.
Okay. So kind of full locomotion, kind of cartoonish. Around launch time, first person, PSVR 1, but not on PSVR 2.
The cartoonish thing
Everything.
could be contested. I'll say that.
Okay.
Okay.
That's why I said kind of cartoonish.
Is there fruit in the game?
No.
Damn.
Well, I mean, probably, but it's not important.
Is this part of a series?
No. Would have liked to have been.
Okay. Is this published or developed by Dreams?
No.
Published
much
or
time we
developed
have,
by
Brian?
1 minute. We gotta hurry up. Published or developed by Fast Travel.
No.
Are there vehicles in it that you drive?
No.
Is it sci-fi?
Is it an experience?
Not sci-fi. It's not an experience, I don't think.
Oh,
Is
we're
it a
so
first-party
close.
game from Sony?
It is
Yeah.
not a first-party game from Sony.
Because you said it's on other platforms.
Is it hybrid?
No.
You can't play it on the flat screen? Okay.
No, don't think so.
Round launch. Oof.
This is
I knew he was gonna get
ridiculous.
us. I knew he was gonna get us with some deep cut.
We're losing all credibility. No, it's not a job sim. Oh, is there racing in this?
No.
Is it third
Published-
person?
No, it's
No.
first person.
First person.
Published or developed by Servios?
Nope.
Crap.
Was it a part one?
Yes.
What? Wait, it was a part 1, but not part
Is
of
it
a
narrative
series?
driven?
Well, I said it wanted to be a series.
Is it narrative
Ah.
driven?
It is narrative driven.
Is it sci-fi?
It's not sci-fi.
It's not sci-fi.
Oof.
AJ, we're out of time. We got to guess.
What's a part one that's not loading human?
Dude, the only one I've
Oh,
got.
I
is,
wish I'd
that?
picked loading human now.
what's-
Damn.
What's that fantasy style one? What's that
Ooh.
called? What's that like
Fantasy-
fantasy? I forget what it's called. It's like
We've totally failed.
it's
think you-
fantasies. It's
you've got it.
fantasy something.
I think you got it.
Brian, it's I think we're out of time, Brian. But it's
Dude,
that,
we've been
it's
out of
that,
time
like,
for a minute.
It's like that narrative driven. I know what it is. I don't remember what it's called.
I
Faded.
know. Faded, the Silent Oath.
Got
Is-
it.
Is that it?
Failed
That's-
Silent
Yeah, that
Oath.
was it.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Thank you,
We-
Looper.
Yay, we got it. kind of like way too
Yeah,
late.
I think we kinda
6-minute
figured.
challenge. Yeah.
That
Yeah,
was a
yeah.
little bit. That was a little bit beyond the thing.
What a banger.
Wow.
There
dude.
was-
yeah.
There was a bit at the end of that where, spoilers, you have to deliver some bad news just by like shaking your head or whatever. And I remember like when playing it, just being like, "Whoa, this feels kind of heavy."
Yeah. Yeah. This was it was definitely great for early VR. And I remember a lot of people just being like, because it had like a Skyrim look to it. And I remember a lot of people being disappointed that like it had, there was no real gameplay. It was really just walking from place to place and doing a little bit here and there. But I really enjoyed it. I thought this was great for early VR.
Yeah, for sure.
Wow. Looper says this is the first time the game's ever been picked. He said a really deep cut. Yeah, I mean, I think 8 years ago it wouldn't have been that deep of a cut. We were all talking about it pretty regularly, but man, there's been no reason to really bring it up for the last 8 years.
And now you know when you watch the showcase, I'm not a faker. I'm not just in it for the money. I was there from day one, baby.
Yeah, I knew he was gonna know his shit.
He's a real gamer. I want to know how many people
Dude
in the chat have
reviewed
no idea. Did
Games
anybody in the
for a
chat just
living
like
on a website.
not remember this at all? Anybody?
I never actually really played it. I played
It was
just
like 90 minutes long. What were you doing?
I hardly played it. I don't know.
Okay.
I bought it
Yeah.
for Saturday Night live streams, and then nobody requested it.
Oh,
Oh,
well, I'll
There you
request it next time.
So I just burned money on it, basically.
didn't get to make a part 2 because of you.
That's what happened. All right, man. Well, thank you, Jamie, for being on and hanging out.
No, thanks for
and-
having me, guys. You guys are the best at what you do. I absolutely love tuning into the show every once in a while. Like, obviously didn't know what 4-minute challenge was, but I super just appreciate the support you guys have shown all the way back to 2019. I remember finishing the first show and being like, I wonder if anyone even like bothered to co-stream this, and it was like you guys watching along and like. Yeah, like picking apart the bits that didn't work, but like having a great time watching like the reveal of Aspire 1 and stuff like that. And like ever since then, like like I've just really enjoyed talking with you guys and like accessing the community that way and interacting with everyone in chat and stuff. So yeah, I really appreciate support and having me on this time around, and hope you guys enjoy the show next week.
Yeah, I'm glad it worked out. I'm glad AJ pretended like he wasn't going to be on the show today so we could have you on. That was super devious of you, AJ, and I will hold it against you.
What
Just
can I
FYI.
say? I am a mastermind.
Also, we'll be keeping an eye on. I'm guessing your Twitter or Blue Sky account to see what
Tomorrow.
to see what else you got to reveal. Good stuff.
The plan.
All right, you guys. Just a heads up in the chat, if you guys care, or anybody who's watching, we did start our GoFundMe for the 2025 GameCat meetup. Obviously, it's going to be crazy expensive for everyone to fly in. Not me because it's down the road, but hotels became very expensive very quickly. So we do have the link for that pinned in the live chat. If you'd like to help out, we appreciate it. And we'll be doing a fundraising stream soon enough in order to focus on that a little bit more. But guys, in the meantime, thanks to everyone who supports the channel in your own way by being a Patreon supporter, patreon.com/withoutprogames, by being a member over here, by tipping during the show. You keep the lights on. We really, really appreciate it. And thanks to everybody who hangs out, shoots the shit. We're just happy that you're here, part of this community, and hanging out in the chat. But also a shout out to all those who sit back and watch the show and don't say a goddamn word. We know you're out there, and we love you just as much. Oh God, do we have to? Yeah, even with company here, we have.
Jamie,
to
what's your what's the channel's name?
Like just VR game showcase.
VR
Like
Games Showcase. Make sure you guys go subscribe to that. Show them some love. Now cue the motherfucking cat, Brian, because I want to say see you guys on Wednesday to Electrical Blast. I love that name. Mischievous Marker, the underground game cat, knows the drill. Says cue the cat, snatch robber. His message was retracted. Or was it snatched? Magic, the game cat, says I'm a bit drunk, so I love all y'all. Woohoo! Let's go, Magic. Game Cat Behemoth later. Still ill GG. The Bat and the Game Cat. Says keep up the good work, VR Brian. Oh, good work for VR Brian, AJ, and Jamie. Thank you so much. The Bat and the Game Cat. Game Cat goofing in virtual unreality. I don't think I
trying
can
to trip us up.
read that on TV. Scott, the PSVR Game Cat for life. What up, Scotty boy? Says can't wait to start my holiday on the 11th. Happy times ahead. Very nice. So I guess we tuning in. Nick Bulow, the Game Cat, thank you so much. Secrets of, good to see you, homie. Chrome to the Dome, Colossus, hello. The Guys on Fist bump to you. Bit Nappy, thank you. He says just subscribe to Jamie's channel. VR Games Showcase. Awesome Tatum in the house tonight. What is up, my dude? Vince Virtua. Let's see here. Twitcher, the Deuce Juice Game Cat. Hello, thank you so much. Old Darth, thank you so much, man. Relic says fail. What happened to the explosion? What happened to the explosion, Brian?
Which I have so many explosions. I don't know which one he's referring to.
Robbie says, "Don't act like you got it." Haha. Yeah, I don't think we're gonna count that as a win. I think we're gonna count that as a.
That is
Jamie
an
got
epic
us there.
fail. That's an epic fail. The time
I
runs
was
out.
close.
Yeah. No, dude. I wouldn't have. You at least had it in mind. You were just struggling to get the name of it. I didn't even have it in mind. Even when you started describing it, nothing. Nope.
Yeah, I didn't, because I hadn't played it more, so I couldn't really describe it better. But good job, Jamie. You got us. Luckily, we weren't on a hot streak or anything, so nothing has changed. But we're gonna get that streak going again, man. We're gonna get the streak back.
I feel like we are on a streak, like a failure streak.
Yeah,
like weeks on end.
I'm pretty sure we're on a losing streak. That's a good point.
All right, you guys. I will pin. Sorry, sirens on my end. I will pin a link to Jamie's channel for the VR Game Showcase in the comments, and make sure you guys tune in to either Without Parole or the VR Game Showcase to stream that just 9 days from now. No, 8 days from now. 8 days from now on the 11th. Way too early in the morning, noon Eastern Standard. But we're gonna have a good time doing it. Thank you, Jamie. Thank you, AJ. Thank you, Cats. We love you.